So we're all yours, Reverend Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Good morning, everyone. First, let me ask, do you hear a lot of background noise behind me, or are you hearing my voice clearly? Sounds good?
Clearly.
Okay, great. We're preparing for an open house today, and I can hear noise in the background. I'm glad it's quiet for all of you. Well, first, let me welcome everyone. Beloved Dr. Maya, who I understand you'll be in Montreal in a week or so. Yes, and I'm curious, how much snow is there now, Sandra, in Montreal?
6 centimeters. 6 centimeters.
6 centimeters. All right. Cold and chilly, cold and chilly. And
Yes.
hello, Wilma. I see you all bundled up. Yes, and welcome. Good morning, Nicole. And hello, Gloria. And hello, Elise. And I think I saw Claire there. Hello, good morning, Claire. And Debbie, good morning. Hello, Derek. I'm glad you're here. And Catherine, welcome. And also Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome very much. And welcome to Susan and to Sandra in the sanctuary. Yes, Derek says good morning in the chat. All right. 3 to 4 inches. Thank you for that clarity. I was trying to do the calculation in my head. We had a little tiny dusting that like lasted till the sun touched it and then it all went away. But we've had a cold spell here in North Carolina. It's been in 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Went down to 17 one night, but today is beautiful. I would like to continue our series on the second Advent Sunday of praise. And we started last week of praise using the poems of Rosemary Watola Tromer. And we're continuing with sort of the next chapter and different kind of praise. Before we get to that, I wanted to invite you to go into a meditation. I'm going to read you a poem by I'm not sure I'm exactly pronouncing this right, but Rainer Maria Rilke. He wrote Letters to a Poet in 1921. And this was actually the inspiration for how this book of poetry is organized. So when I say the word poet, get ready, close your eyes for just a second and tune into yourself. When I say the word poet, think of a word that represents you instead. So when I'm listening to this poem and the word poet shows up a couple times, whenever I hear poet, I'm going to change it to artist or weaver. You know, you might want to use your name, or say the word self, whatever feels like your identity, so that when we're doing this together, you are substituting yourself into it. And if you're a poet already, great, use the word poet. And then after each line, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines that end with I praise. And I invite you to say that with me. I praise. All right, so here we go. Let this kind of wash over you and let it set the tone here for our time together today. Oh, say, poet. And I hope you put your own word in there. So I say poet or weaver or citizen or Sandra. What is it that you do? And here all together we say, I praise.
I praise.
I praise. So we'll start over now that you got the feel for it. Oh, say, poet, what is it that you do? I praise.
I praise.
But what of the deadly and monstrous? How do you endure all this? How do you take it in? Together, I
I
praise.
praise.
But the nameless, the anonymous, how, despite it all, do you keep calling to them, poet? I praise.
Praise.
Where does it come from, your claim to be true in every guise and in each mask? I praise.
Praise.
And this is the last line. And that the stillness and turbulence know you like star and storm because I praise.
Praise.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I love that. I'm going to invite you now to go get a small glass of water because our praising this morning on the second Advent Sunday is going to use water as part of our own little time together and ceremony. So just a small glass. We're going to sip it later at the end. If you can put it in a pretty glass, that's great, but whatever you have would be great. Water bottle, cup of some sort and just have it with you. And can I stop the recording? If you can stop the recording for a minute, Dr. Maya, I'm gonna just play some winter music while people get their cup. So you have a minute and a half or so to get your cup. Thank you. Okay, glad you have your water. Because this cup, hold it, Sandra's got it in front of her. You're providing a great model for me, Sandra. We're using this cup of water to represent us and our praise with a new word invented by Rosemary Watola Tromer. And this one is sorrow, S-O-R-R-O-M, sorrow and om put together. Sorrow. So in a read a couple things and talk about them. And after each one, I'm going to invite you to praise using the word Om. And I love to like kind of make that Om vibrate in my mouth, right? Om, join me now and just getting that vibration going. Sorrow. Feel that sound on your mouth. She put this together from sorrow and Om, and it represents beauty, love, strength, and connection that can only emerge as we wrestle with devastation and grief and the worries and pains of daily living. And it's really the focus on the daily living that I wanted to bring into our conversation this morning. She calls this a positive sorrow is a positive side effect of surrender and trust in life and in death. So this is really about recognizing, becoming deeply aware, and praising our humanness, our human beingness, and our divineness through our daily moments. And we're going to use our water for reflection on memories and on moments that we can recollect, and on just being ourselves from laughter to tears. And at the end, we'll take some sips of that water to close our time together. All right, so sorrow. The first one I wanted to read here is How the Healing Happens by Rosemary Watola Tromer. Again today, I dig with my teaspoon into the soil of sorrow, the soil of sorrow. It is said there is healing water somewhere below. Perhaps I wished for a shovel. Perhaps there was no shovel to be found. Perhaps I did find a shovel, but the work was too heavy and too hard. It's not hard to dig 1 teaspoon at a time. Anyone can do it. The hole gets wider and deeper, and at some point it feels like a well. It's easy work. It's the hardest work I've ever done. I thirst. Yet what heals us is not only the promised water. What heals is the work itself, dry and slow. 1 spoonful and another parched spoonful and another. So I love this metaphor for healing, that it's incremental, isn't it? It's a little bit at a time, a teaspoon at a time. Before you know it, you have gallons and gallons of healing power. So I'd love for you to look, gaze, and observe your cup of water and think of how many teaspoons is that? Or in Canada, would you have teaspoons or do you use milliliters?
Teaspoon.
Teaspoons? Okay. All right. Teaspoons. So what have you been healing in yourself? Or what have you been working on? As we approach the end of the year and the beginning of 2025, on our times together at different parts and wheels of the year of 2024, I've invited you to focus on what are some things that you hope to change or accomplish, or just change in habits or your way of being. Think back to this past year and just reflect. What have you been working on, teaspoon by teaspoon by teaspoon? Yeah, and just take a deep breath and just tune into your heart. and just relax and just think of those. Think of a few of those things. Or maybe there's just one big one you've been working on, or maybe something crept up on you, teaspoon by teaspoon by teaspoon, that you can recognize now and we can include in our praise cup. So send all that with your attention through your hands and your heart into the water so that it's going to collect that for us today. I would say today in getting ready for our open house for our whole neighborhood here in the village, I had an opportunity to just collect all the what feels like millions of photos I have of my building project. And a lot of them are from just the last few months, but I looked and kind of had a quick glimpse at the year. And I was like, wow, a lot has happened and transformed on my land and in myself, teaspoon by teaspoon by teaspoon, kind of even underneath my awareness. While I've been busy making plans, life has happened, right? Teaspoon by teaspoon by teaspoon. And there's been sadness and grief, but also much joy and friendship. And it's been a journey. And that's what's in my cup. I'm putting that in. Those are my teaspoons. So look at your water, see if you can recognize what's changed in this last year for you, or last month, or last week, or yesterday. And join me in taking a big deep breath. And let's praise with the word Saram. Ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sorrow. Sorrow. That feels good. That feels good. All right, so that's our first charge up. Now here's a story for another kind of experience to charge up in our praise cup this morning. This is called Getting Close. In the photo, he is dancing, his arms a strong diagonal, his tie flying forward, even as he comes to a still point, balanced for a moment on the toes of his tap shoes. His body a lightning bolt in a crisp white shirt. I focus on his face and see the will it takes to make his body stop in time, see his easy smile, the invitation of his eyes, a blend of pride and play. I lean in until his face is a blur, as if by coming closer I might feel the breath that isn't there, breathe in the warmth of his being. I love entering this photo sometimes, or more rightly, love the way this photo enters me, until I ring with the truth of how it is to love this boy who did not become a man, this boy who chose to make his body stop in time, this lightning bolt captured on film, unpredictable, powerful, something no one could hold forever. This love that strikes me every time I think of him. I still feel it, the charge. I love this poem because it reminds me of those moments when you are looking at photos on your phone or maybe at an old paper album even, and just looking at someone's face or recalling an experience, for me, has that charge of emotion and memory. Again, sometimes thrilling and sometimes chilling, sometimes not so happy, sometimes, fantastic, sometimes a little melancholy. Whether the person is still in my world in this life or not, it just takes me back to that time that the photo was taken in all of my senses. So I invite you now to see what comes up in your photo album, in your memory, and picture a scene, maybe one that you know well, or maybe one that just emerges in the moment right at this time. And see if you can conjure up in your heart that moment in time, those emotions, maybe what it smelled like there, or what the soundtrack was at the time. What were the sounds in the back of that image? And just notice those moments. And as they come to you, maybe there's just one, maybe there's more, bring them into your water by beaming them in through your hands and heart into your glass of water, into our praise cup this morning. How many moments can you place into that cup of praise this morning? Let it flow, let it deepen. Cultivate this observation of your own photographs in your mind. You may also have the happy circumstance of seeing photos around you, wherever you happen to be at this moment. Or you may have your phone nearby and you want to remind yourself and just flip through some photos. Just find a couple that deeply have a charge. And I'll just read her last line again. Picture, she's looking at a picture of something no one could hold forever. This love that strikes me every time I think of him, I still feel it, the charge. So take a deep breath and join me in using our praise word today on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sorrow. You feel that cup brightening up or maybe getting heavier? Do you feel it changing a little bit as we charge it with more things to praise? Okay, here's another one. These ideas are, let it just experience. I'm sure there's this experience you can relate to here. The title of this is serotonis. Well, obviously a made up word. Serotonicious. Serotonis. Even the word surrender suggests some agency. But perhaps what is asked of us is zero. Perhaps we're like the seed of the lodgepole pine that opens through no effort of its own. It needs the heat of a wildfire blaze. Then the seed is released into the very blackened, desolate world that seemed hell-bent on destroying it. But it's the carbon-rich soil left by the fire that feeds the seed and helps the tree grow. No surrender, no effort. Now, who could ask for the fire? The seed did not. It did nothing at all. And now the pine, how green, how tall. And so this is an invitation to notice your fires, your seeds that couldn't have grown without the fire, and the carbon-rich soil left by the fire that fed the seed with no surrender, no effort. You didn't ask for it. You did nothing at all. And now your own pine, how green and how tall. Think of this and beam this into your praise cup. For me, I think of a cancer diagnosis years ago. I'm happy to say years ago. For me, this is, my carbon-rich soil left by the death of my parents, the carbon-rich soil left by divorce. But those are big. Those are definitely wildfires of life for sure, aren't they? Everyone has them. But I also think of the smoldering fires, like around here, and I'm sure in Montreal, there's prairies. And wildfires are one thing, but there's also these smoldering, sort of slower fires that also create carbon in the soil, also help things grow in a different way, not as violent, perhaps. So I think of the moments like a couple nights ago, my nephew, who's a second-year student in high school, had a symphonic band concert, and he plays the trumpet. And he almost didn't play the trumpet this year. He almost quit it, but he kept going. So every time there's a concert, I always think, this might be the last time I see him play the trumpet in a concert. I don't know. So I kind of cherish that seed. I cherish that moment and the beauty of the symphonic band concert playing holiday music. I just don't take it for granted because it may be, who knows? I just enjoy the whole thing. It helps too that his band teacher, music teacher, is like one of those super teachers that you remember your whole life. All right, the one or two that really influenced you when you were in high school or maybe middle school that made a lasting impression. My girls had a teacher like that. In elementary school, she was the first grade teacher. Yeah, she was the first grade teacher. And her slogan in her classroom was, "Only love is spoken here." And both my girls use that phrase to this day. And on the inside of my house, on the wood above one of the windows, before I invited people to write on the wood before it's all insulated and covered with drywall, one of my daughters wrote, "Only love is spoken here." So thank you, Mrs. Lippy, their first grade teacher. All
Beautiful.
right. So let's charge up our cup with those thoughts and feelings and emotions and praise and gratitude for these smoldering and wildfires in our lives. Look at that water and really watch it hold your thoughts. And then join me on 3 in praising with our Sarum word. 1, 2, 3. Sorrow. Thank you. I could hear some of those ohms. That was great. All right. This one is even different still. More things for this beautiful praise cup that we have. This one's called Gleaning. And this one I would really like to walk through with you as a meditation. So close your eyes and sit back, relax your shoulders, take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth just to shift our being, let our body know we're shifting our consciousness. And here's a story, and I'll walk you through a little meditation for recollection. She arrived with a dozen pears she had gleaned from an orchard. I placed them in a scalloped dish and sniffed the naked air, hungry for the scent of pear. I think of gleaning, the wisdom in gathering what has been left behind. How now I glean memories that at first were passed over in favor of others that were sweeter or bigger or more perfectly formed. But now it's these smaller, harder memories that sustain me. I love walking the rows of the mind to find there are memories still hanging. So picture with your own eyes closed. Picture walking down the rows of your mind to find that there are memories still hanging. Gather them into a bowl of your heart. Gather them into the bowl of your heart, where they will ripen in their own time. Almost forgotten, they are even more sweet. So see what's hanging there in the walkways and halls of your own memories. Maybe it's a little hard something, or maybe it's a big, luscious something. Look behind the leaves or look behind the books in the shelves to see what's behind there, gathering dust perhaps. Find the memories still hanging or still resting or maybe lost in the corners. Gather them up. You're gleaning just like the pears in the poem. And you're placing them in the basket of your heart. Go back in time. Go back to when you were a little kid. Maybe go, if you're really relaxed, maybe you go back into past lives even, but that might be too much for today. Just go back as far as you're comfortable into your memories and glean some that you would like to praise, though lost and forgotten, the hidden ones, and some nice ripe ones too. As you're placing them in your bowl, hold your cup if you can with both hands, your cup of water, and pretend that that is your bowl of your heart and all those memories that you've been collecting just now are resting in that bowl and are now in your cup of water, or they are held by all the molecules and the energies of the liquid light that is water. They're held so gently. They're held in love. They're held in peace. And let's praise this cup, this deep well of memories that you just gleaned from your own mind and your own heart. And on three, let's say our praise word. 1, 2, 3. Sorrow. That's a pretty big bowl and cup. Let's say that one again. 1, 2, 3. Sorrow. So I'm wondering if your cup's getting actually heavier since we have all this good energy in there, this good memories and thoughts. All right. Now we have one more thing, at the end of which we're going to take some sips of our water. All right. So this is the end of our sorrow and praise ceremony. So I'll read the last poem, which is called Self-Compassion. It's like the scent of rain after a month of drought, the way it rises up and fills the lungs, quiets the body, and gentles the mind. That's what it's like when, after grasping and spinning and reaching and clenching, at last exhausted with my own fear, I lay my hand on my own heart and see through my thoughts and practice loving what is beneath my palm. So join me now in doing that. Lay your hand on your own heart, see through your own thoughts, and practice loving what is beneath your palm. And she says, this frightened woman, and the life that lives through her, not a single promise I will be safe, but when I press my open hand into the beat of my anxious heart, what was dry becomes loamy. What was cracked becomes rich. And a faint sweetness tendrils through me like incense, soothing as a lullaby that opens in the dark. With your hand on your heart, I'll just read that end part again. I lay my hand on my own heart and see through my thoughts and practice loving what is beneath my palm, this frightened woman and man, because I know Derek's with us, and the life that lives through her, not a single promise I will be safe. But when I press my open hand into the beat of my anxious heart, what was dry becomes loamy. What was cracked becomes rich. And a faint sweetness tendrils through me like incense, soothing as a lullaby that opens in the dark. And feel that. Take a big breath in and out as you hold your cup now with one hand and your heart with your other hand. Thinking of all the things that are now in this cup, memories and pictures, all the moments of daily life, smolderings and wildfires, seeds of growth, everything that our life is made of. We praise this. We praise this life. We get to experience all of this wonder and awe, even in times of pain and trouble and grief and anxiety and fear. Underneath, we experience faith. We experience grace. We experience divine love that holds us sweetly And for this, we say our Saram praise on 3. 1, 2, 3. Saram. Saram. Let's say it 3 times. And Saram. And while I go back to our little music here, I invite you to take tiny little gentle mindful sips of your water. So Dr. Maya, if you could please stop the recording. Sunday Advent toast. Yeah, Wilma, thank you. Catherine, Anna, if you can, or Derek, Pauline, thank you for being here. Here, this is my pretend cup here. This is my cup of love. Let's look each other in the eye and say, welcome. I see you.
I see you.
Anna, I see you. Wilma, I see you. Rosemary, I see you. Catherine, I see you. We see you. Pauline, we see you. Elise, we see you. And Claire, we see you. Susan and Sandra, we see you. Gloria, we see you. Nicole, we see you. Derek, we see you. Went through your beautiful picture there. Did I miss anyone? Nicole, did I got everybody? We see you. I see you. You see you. And you have a beautiful praise cup. You've sipped the delight in each one. And let's toast with the word Saram together. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Saram. Sip, sip, sip. I hope you experience that with awe and delight. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maya. Thanks for this great opportunity to be with you this Sunday. I look forward to doing our celebration of the winter solstice, the end of the darker and darker, longer and longer days, the beginning of the light, and we'll have song and music. I'll be reaching out to you guys to participate by offering something. And I'm very looking forward to having a celebration. And these last 2 Sundays were sort of preparation for that, so that our celebration can be deeper and even more heartfelt. So thank you for today. I turn it back to Dr. Maya.